Hi, it's Lynn here from Eating Sharp. A lot of people have been asking me why I was wearing a backpack and having that medical stuff done, and I think now is the time that I want to reveal that information to you and bring you up to date on what's happening and what has happened with me. I'm here in the filming kitchen doing this video. And I don't want to offend or make anybody upset, but I think I want to bring this out as a learning video for those that might be having the same issues or going through the same thing. So back in July 1st of 2012, I signed up for insurance with my company that I was with. I had no insurance before then. I was doing the state insurance. And soon after I signed up, I started getting pains in my gut area, my intestinal areas. Um, well, needless to say, over a period of time, it got worse and worse, and I finally went in and requested a um, a sonogram or some type of thing to see what was going on down there. It really felt like a kidney stone um, down in there, and they did that. They didn't find a kidney stone. I asked, well, what are you going to do next? They said, well, we can do the same thing with definition, which means they shoot you up with some stuff and it highlights different areas. Well, come to find out, there was an area about the size of a golf ball on the top of my intestines between my pancreas and my aorta that goes south out of my heart. They did some biopsy on it. In fact, they had to do two biopsies on it to figure out what it was. And it did come back as cancer. It was large B cell lymphoma. It was non-Hodgkin's. Um, I was diagnosed with that on September 6th of 2012. Today is January 21st, I believe, of 2013. So since then, I've gone through 6 rounds of chemotherapy through Kaiser. Very aggressive chemotherapy. They put a port in up in here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a port right there. And what this does is it goes up and goes into my jugular vein so that they can administer the chemotherapy, the one that I have to have over a 24-hour period drip. I could wear the bag and still go to work. So the 6 weeks, they did 1 week on of chemotherapy and 2 weeks off of chemotherapy. During the week of chemotherapy, the first week I got a drug, I forget the name of it, that attached itself to the cancer. And that's what allowed the killing part of the chemotherapy. The next 3 days would go in and kill every fast-growing cell. That would be your hair follicles, your mouth, throat, and intestine cells. Also, the cancer cells are considered a fast-growing cell. And then the last day, I got my Cytoxin on a Friday. Then after that, I would do 10 days of giving myself Neuprogen shots. The Neuprogen shots were to build up my white blood cells so that I would have my white blood cells built back up before the next round of chemotherapy. So it was on a week and off for 2 weeks. They call it a 21-day cycle. So for any of you going through this or just thinking about going through this because you just got diagnosed, there's another couple of things that you need to know about. You get a lot of tests, a lot of blood work. You'll feel like it's the end of the world, um, but don't. It's hard to tell you not to feel that way because it's so uncertain. You have biopsies and bone marrow biopsies and blood work, and they throw tons and tons of information to you right at the first that you don't absorb because your mind is just not able to absorb all that information. So make sure you take somebody with you to your appointments so that they can later remind you of everything that was said at your appointments. I had to do that. A good friend of mine, Ron, went with me a couple of times. My brother, Brian, went with me a couple of times, and it really helped get all that information together so that I didn't have to think about it. I could worry just about um, everything else. I mean, your mind just goes crazy over it. Um, Another thing that happens is everybody that you know is really concerned and will check with you every day. How are you doing? How are you doing? And you'll almost get overwhelmed with how much they are um, talking to you and asking you all these questions. But don't worry, it'll taper right off. The longer you're in chemotherapy, the less people will respond and ask how you're doing. Mine probably dropped from a whole bunch of people down to about three or four that would ask me on occasion. Now that I'm done with chemotherapy, I have about three people that ask how I'm doing outside of work. That is, outside of all my work people, but friends and family that ask how I'm doing. So I did lose my hair. Um, so I'm bald. I've lost hair in places you never thought you would lose hair. So now I'm just waiting for that hair to grow back. I just did a CT CAT scan today that will show any cells that are cancerous. I mean, right down to the cell. It will show one single cell if it's cancerous. It's really intense. What they do is they attach some isotopes, radioactive isotopes, to sugar and shoot it into you. And then you wait about 45 minutes and they put you through the scanner. And in the scanner, it takes about 30 minutes or so, and that's where they'll find out if you have any cells that are cancerous. My first CT scan after I started treatment was after the second round of chemo. So I did my first round of chemo, and then I had 2 weeks off, and then my second round of chemo, and I had 2 weeks off. And somewhere in that 2 weeks, I'm not 100% sure what time, they did another CT scan. So it was my second CT scan. And it came back showing that no cancer cells at all were in my body. The tumor had gone down, and the two small ones that were in my chest that I didn't know about had disappeared as well. So I asked, my oncologist, so we're going to stop chemotherapy, right? And of course, to no avail, they want to do the whole 6 treatments. Um, I think the hardest thing for me was, and still is the spinal taps. Um, they're painful. It's hit and miss. One of my spinal taps, they poked me 5 times and got nothing out of the spinal tap. So it's tough. That spinal tap is really tough. My fingers have gone numb. The tips the tips of my fingers are numb. I have a nice ringing in my ears. Could be caused by the chemotherapy. Um, your appetite will go up and down. Sometimes you'll feel like eating and sometimes you won't. Mostly that first week you won't feel like eating. You'll lose some weight. I lost about 20 pounds from diagnosed till, probably just about 3 weeks ago, I gained that 20 pounds back. It's rough on your body. You get fatigued very easily. Your you get tired. Your bowels will be all over the board. You'll have stiff ones, thin ones, uh, constipation. I mean, all of this happens to your body. If you can see the cabinet right back there, this cabinet back here, you see all those bottles. Those are pill bottles. I have lots and lots of pill bottles up in there. A lot of them right at first were pain pills because the tumor was restricting my large intestines, and so it was giving me very cramping pain. So a bunch of those are pain pills, and a lot of the other ones are one so I don't get herpes, one so my kidney's okay, one is for my lungs so I don't get pneumonia. There's a cream up there to help when I give myself shots. Uh, let's see. There's Ativan. There's two types. Ativan for nausea. Uh, there's two other types of nausea pills because you do get nausea from the chemotherapy. Lucky for me, I only vomited twice, and I had nausea. Excuse me, one other time for about 5 days until I could get it under control by taking the nausea pills. Um, the biggest thing you want to do once you find out you have cancer is you need to, any type of cancer, is get a hold of the American Cancer Society in your area and get the 1-800 number. Now you should have a caseworker in the hospital wherever you're diagnosed from. Kaiser has a nice, wonderful case manager. She got me hooked up with American Cancer Society. They will pay 14 cents a mile to and from all of your appointments, all your blood work, all your tests, everything like that for your cancer. So it does help out on the gas. Some, they give it to you in a prepaid card. Comes in the mail. You have to fill out your mileage and stuff to and from your appointments. But that's a nice thing to help with the burden of the cost of the cancer. Another thing, if it's lymphoma or leukemia, that foundation, once you're diagnosed, will send you a check for $100 to help with any expenses that you have. And then you can fill out a form and hopefully be approved. And it goes back 3 months from once you do the application. So you want to make sure you do the application right away. Mine, I was approved November 1st or November 3rd, somewhere around there. And so it went back 3 months, and I was able to get all of my medication co-pays paid for. I'm also able to get all of my insurance premiums that I pay at work for my insurance paid for through the Lymphoma Foundation. So it really takes a big burden of expense off of you. So make sure you sign up for those programs as soon as you can. And I'm sure there's programs for other types of cancer as well. You just have to ask and look into it because it just takes a big mind off of you, a big weight off of your mind. So it's working out for me. So anyway, I'm done with my chemotherapy. Like I say, I just had my CT CAT scan, my third one. So hopefully this week it'll come back 100% clean. I have an appointment with my oncologist on the 23rd, 24th, somewhere around there. And there I'll get the results to that CT scan. And then next Monday I have my last spinal tap. This spinal tap and a lot of them have been just a precaution to make sure that my spinal fluid is clean and cancer free, so that I don't get it up into my brain and have cancer in my brain, and then have to go through the brain cancer stuff. So I'm just waiting for my hair to grow back here and a lot of other places. My skin has gotten really thin. It feels like it's grandma's skin, really thin. I bruise kind of easily, and it's all from the chemotherapy. Excuse me. So you just got to keep your head up and realize that if they catch it early and you know your body, that's the one thing that helped me catch mine early enough, is that I knew something was going on and I knew it wasn't regular. My primary doctor at the beginning diagnosed it as some pulled muscles in my abdomen area. And, I just knew it just wasn't quite that. And once I had the pain 2 days in a row at night, is when I went in to have it sonogrammed to find out what was going on in there. And you have to be proactive about your health and about what's going on with your body, because the doctors don't know. They go off a list of things. I mean, they're just as much at questions about what's going on in your body as you would, but hopefully you know enough about your body that you can know when something is not right and get the help that you need. I do have a little clip. It does show the port and the chemotherapy going into that. So we're going to take a look at that, and we'll be right back. Okay, this part of the video, I want to show you the 24-hour drip that I've been on. I do it 3 days a week for 24 hours. This is the stuff that kills all the fast growing cells. That would be your mouth cells, your throat, your stomach, your intestines, your hair, and yes, of course, the cancer. This is the stuff. Let me get it out of the bag here. This is the stuff here. It's a nice color. It usually has about 550 milliliters in here, and they pump it over a 24-hour period at about 23 it has 550 milliliters, and they pump it into my system. They have a little pump here. They pump it into my system over a 24-hour period at 23 milliliters, and this is the little gadget that is all programmed in by the oncology department, and it pumps it in over the 24-hour period. Now, where does it go? Well, it goes through this tubing, and it has a little air. Of course, it has the clamps, and it has I thought this was a filter, but it's a filter and a air catcher. It'll catch any significant amount of air will be caught in this little thing here. And then it goes right into my PICC line. A PICC line is a thing that they put, it's under the skin so that they can access your blood vessel instead of poking you every time you needed to get this done. The top of it, I'm told, is like those bottles that are pressurized that have antibiotics and stuff in it, where the needle will go in, and when they pull the needle out, it doesn't drip. So it's kind of like that under my surface of my skin. And then it has a tube. I don't know if you can see it good in this video, but it goes right up into my jugular vein. Now I've had this ever since I started chemo treatment. Some people keep it in. I'm going to have mine taken out since I've been cancer-free since the second round of treatment of the chemotherapy from a PET scan. Now they'll want to do another PET scan, and they're doing that later this month. So it picks up every little cell that is cancerous, and they'll be able to tell from head to toe that I am 100% cancer free. I am hoping for that, and I'm pretty sure I will be. So now we'll go back to the rest of the video about how I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. Thank you. Hi, welcome back. As you can see over here, I opened up the cupboard there. There's about 30 bottles up there. I'm down to 2 pills a day, one every day, morning and night, and one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is the Bactrim that I'll be on until July of this year. So I wanted to show you, these are the Neupertin shots. Let's see if you can see the name there. There you go. It's the Neupertin shots. They're single injection. They come out like this. Of course, this is this is an empty one, but they're like this. And these are the ones that got the needle down here. It's a very, very tiny needle. I don't know if you can see it, but it's very tiny. I think it's 20 gauge. But these are them. And once you shoot that into you, put the top back on there like that, and then you can open them like this, and this then makes them safe for disposal. And you'll want to dispose them in a sharps container. You don't want to send them through your recycle bin or not. Another thing that they encourage you once you're diagnosed is to get hand sanitizer, handy wipes, and also the mask that goes over your face, because you do become susceptible to colds and flus a lot easier being on the chemotherapy. You get chemo brain. It is actually it's actually a real thing. If you've noticed in my video, even today, I struggle on some words that I should already know. I struggle with names of people that I've worked with. It's amazing. But also, here's one of those prepaid cards. It says 61. That means there's 61 points on here. Each point is $1. I've already used this one up, so it's no good. And then also, I wanted to also show you that you do get checks from the Lymphoma Foundation, and there's the Lymphoma Foundation, and that's one of the checks they have sent me, and there's their information if you need it. Okay, so I just wanted to validate those couple of things, that it does happen, and it does work, and just to hang in there and keep your spirits up. I was able to work some part of every day during the week, even with my chemotherapy. The only days I had to take off were my spinal tap days, because they want you to stay flat on your back afterwards and drink a lot of fluids after your spinal tap. Spinal taps, what they do is they take out so many cc's of your spinal fluid, and then they inject back in that same amount of intrathecal chemotherapy. And the reason they have to do spinal taps is your spinal fluid wall is very well at protecting for things to get in. It won't allow the chemotherapy to get in there. It'll allow the cancer to get in, but it won't allow the chemotherapy to get in. It's kind of an oxymoron there. But anyway, so that's why they have to do the chemotherapy in the spinal tap, is to make sure that the chemo or the cancer hasn't made it in. And doing the chemotherapy, it won't allow that to get into the spinal fluid. So anyway, I'm doing good. I'll have my port taken out probably next month or first part of March. I'll keep it in for about a month. It doesn't hurt, doesn't do anything, but I'll keep it in. I do have to have it flushed every month that I'm not on chemotherapy. So in February, I'll have it flushed to keep that line open, and then in March I'll make an appointment to have it pulled out. Hopefully they'll be able to give it to me. I would like them to give it to me. I'd like it as something to remind me physically that I had chemotherapy. The scars, will fade, but something I can maybe put behind glass and hang up somewhere to remind me that I beat cancer. It's a wonderful feeling to know that you beat cancer and that you can get your life back together. So keep your spirits up and just, go through day by day. And sometimes that's how I've had to do it. The weekends, I didn't set my alarm. I felt Saturday and Sunday, I really did push myself to the limits during the week. And some days coming home from work, I would have to just take a 2-3 hour nap just because I was that exhausted from pushing myself. And then during the Saturday and Sunday, just taking your me time and doing whatever you want to do and relax and sleep in. There's one thing I did want to mention I didn't. The Neupogen shots, what they do is they supercharge your bone marrow to produce white blood cells. And it's kind of like putting your bone marrow on crack. It makes them overproduce white blood cells. And in doing that, you can get bone achage. There's the dogs. One of the side effects for me was hold on one second. Hey, Chili, cool it. Come on, Chili. Okay, they might not. Well, hopefully you can hear me. Chili, no. Anyway, the Neupogen shots hyperdrive your bone marrow to produce white blood cells. And at one point, I woke up at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and it felt like my hips were in a vice and just were being crushed. I mean, just crushed. And so I did have to take some pain medication for that, just to relieve that pain. So it's your big bones that will feel that way. Even now that I've been on Neupogen, this is the 6th time I've been on Neupogen. I lay in bed at night and my hips will ache a little bit, but nothing like they did at first. Maybe I'm just getting used to it, I don't know. But if you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and feel free to post them here or contact me through my Eating Sharp website, because this will be on my Eating Sharp website. And I'll post the link up to it right up here so that if you see it on YouTube, you'll be able to get to my website and see it there. They have a question and a contact area there in my website, and you can contact me with questions, and I'll try to get back and answer them as best I can. Remember, I'm not an expert on lymphoma. I just went through it, and I just want to give you my experience and hope that it helps you get through yours. Those friends and family that are listening to this that are here in the Valley, I do plan on having a I Beat Cancer party here at my home, and I'll keep you posted as to when that will be. And hopefully you could all come and we can celebrate and celebrate life more than anything, that life is precious and we need to not take it for granted. So until next time, this is Lynn Sharp with Eating Sharp and Eat Well. Thank you. Bye-bye.